Daily, an average of 64,000 vehicles traverse the stretch of I-95 from the Georgia border to South Carolina mile marker 18. Today, the combined groups of Low Country Happenings and North Currents are meeting with South Carolina Department of Transportation Program Manager to learn about the long-awaited widening of this passage. Craig, is it fair to say that it's a little bit of an understatement that this project to widen I-95 over here in South Carolina is a little overdue?
Yeah, this project's been planned for a while. With the additional funding in 2017, it allowed us the opportunity to start working on 95 as we continue to improve the roads in South Carolina.
I think you should be wearing a cape because you're kind of our hero for doing this. Now, when will the project actually physically be seen to begin?
We should start seeing construction starting in early next year to the spring of next year. You'll start seeing construction. They'll start on the interstate and then they'll start working on the exit 8 and John Smith Road, et cetera. They'll work through, starting at the Georgia state line and work their way up to exit 8.
How many miles of the South Carolina section are actually going to be seeing improvement?
So this first segment will be 9 miles, so it'll go up just about a mile north of exit 8.
Okay. And then eventually the conclusion of that is at mile marker 18?
So we have 2 more segments planned right now. They'll go up to just north of exit 33.
Okay. Now, how will traffic be maintained? That's, of course, our worry. How will the traffic flow be maintained during the work?
So we'll maintain 4 lanes of traffic on the interstate as it currently sits. There will be traffic shifts moving the traffic around as we do construction, but there may be some nighttime lane closures, but during the day we'll have 4 lanes at all times.
Okay, that sounds good. Now, all in all, there must be a nice big price tag on a project like this. Any estimation?
We're looking at somewhere between $600 and $700 million for construction of it.
Well, I appreciate the time that you've spent with us. We're certainly going to be, tuning into your presentation and the things that you'll share. This will help us to plan and prep accordingly. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anyway, today we have South Carolina DOT. I'm going to introduce my guest, Craig Wynn. His title is Low Country Project Manager. The subject will be, and only, I-95 widening. Thank you. It's all up to you. Just one more thing. I'm passing around a sign-up sheet. For people that are Jasper, we have North Currents that gives out all the information about Jasper County and about First Friday. So if you want to know about First Friday from now on, sign up, please.
All right, thanks, John. Glad to be here to share an update on I-95. We do have a couple other small updates on regional projects on 278, 170 that are being handled locally. So just kind of some updates on where those are at and where they're heading as well. All right, so we have the DOT overall updates because we have new leadership at the DOT, interstate updates, the project background, and then specifically project updates for the I-95 from mile marker 0 to mile marker 9. So in January, the SCDOT Commission appointed Justin Powell as the new Secretary of Transportation. He replaced Christy Hall, who retired at the end of March, and Justin was confirmed by the South Carolina Senate in April. Then he announced his leadership team. So on the left there is Rob Perry. He is the Deputy Secretary for Engineering. So he was previously our Chief Engineer for Bridges, so he was responsible for all the bridges in the state. Carl McCautry is the Deputy Secretary for Finance and Administration. He was former the Director of HR. Brent Ruiz will continue to be the Director of Planning. And then Jim Decker is the Deputy Secretary for Intermodal and Freight Program. So that is a new Deputy Secretary for the new emphasis on intermodal and freight programs within the state. So back in 2017, the South Carolina legislature passed a 12-cent gas tax increase to fund transportation projects in South Carolina. So as you can see from this chart, everything started really ramping up from a construction program in 2017, now to over a $6.2 billion program in the state. So that's all work that's pre-construction right-of-way construction. So that's the entire work program of SCDOT. As part of that sales tax program, we had developed a 10-year plan that created 4 different buckets for funding. The first one is rural road safety. So 20% of the fatalities happen on 5% of the roads in South Carolina. So that is focused on improving shoulders, improving clear zones, so removing trees that are in close proximity to roads, putting rumble strips on them, widening out shoulders, wider lane markings, just for those rural roads that are hard to see at night, lead to a lot of accidents and fatalities in those roads. The second one, so over 1,000 miles of rural road safety projects have been completed statewide. So we did and also we have a bucket for paving. So we've had 8,800 miles of pavement complete in the state of over 40,000 lane miles in the state. The third bucket is our bridges. So we have 349 bridges under development with a goal within the 10-year plan of 500 bridges. We are also asking for additional funding this year of about $200 million because the bridges in the state are starting to age out. There's a lot of them that are 60, 70, 80 years old. So those are starting to, and part of the 95 project is to replace all the bridges within the corridor. And the fourth one is the interstate. So we've completed 109 miles of interstate within the state. That's throughout the entire state, including 95, 26, 77, 85, starting on 526 in Charleston as well. So this is kind of what's hurt us on some of our resurfacing. In FY 17-18, we could get, with 1 cent of the gas tax, we could pave 114 miles. In 2022-23, that has been reduced to 91 miles. So we've seen roughly a 40 to 50% increase in project cost over the last 3 years. All right. So now I'm going to get into the interstate updates in our overall interstate program. So currently, South Carolina, even though being a smaller state, has the 4th largest state highway system in the United States. So that's the 40,000 lane miles. So there's a lot of money, there's a lot of miles with a little bit of money to try to pave in comparison. And it's also the 3rd fastest growing population in the nation. Oh, sorry. So currently on the interstate, we have 46 miles complete. Those are represented by the black marks, and 61 miles at over $2 billion under construction. So you can see on 26, we've got some that's been complete, some under construction. There's a lot of 95 that is currently under development that will start the construction. So you have, basically the entire 95 corridor up to 26. Right now, the first 33 miles are under design. We signed contracts for 22 to 33 and 8 to 21 earlier this month to start the design process for those. So this kind of shows where all the different interstate projects throughout the state, but also the years of where we're looking at them. So on I-95, you have, starting in 2024, that'll be late 2024, early 2025 for construction, and then about 2 to 3 years in between each of those projects to keep them moving up the interstate. The rest of the corridor is still to be determined, but it's probably going to be in the 2030s before we get to that. So we'll get through, and all of I-26 has been planned, and we're continuing to work on 95. All right, so we'll get into the project background for 0 to 8. So really it starts at about 1 mile within the state of Georgia at the Knoxboro Creek bridges. So it's a 10-mile corridor because we go about 1 mile north of exit 8 by the time we tie it in and replace the culverts north of exit 8. So the purpose of this project is to improve the capacity, mobility, and operations and address operational deficiencies along the corridor. So basically we're looking at increasing the number of vehicles we can get through the corridor, reduce the delay. We're looking at truck travel time reliability, as well as addressing the operational deficiencies, which is exit 5, exit 8, the bridges, all of those have operational deficiencies at this time. Let's see. That's the next one, yeah. So the roadway, so we're going to plan to widen towards the median from 4 to 6 lanes for the entire length of the project. Between the state line and just south of exit 5 near the Welcome Center there, in the northbound direction, a future 4th lane will be constructed as well. That will be striped down to 3, but that is to allow for the construction and the maintenance of traffic, so maintaining the 4 lanes of traffic throughout the project. So the bridges, we have 5 sets of mainline bridges within this corridor. We have the Savannah River Bridge, which is developed in a partnership with Georgia Department of Transportation. The overflow, Savannah River Overflow, the St. Allen Swamp, and the CSX Railroad Bridge. So all of those are south, basically within the first 3 miles of I-95. Then SC46 is over Main Street in Hardeeville. And then we also have the John Smith Road overpass as the cut through between 17 and 278. At exit 5, we're doing frontage road relocation. So that'll be, there's currently a frontage road that connects through the ramps. That's a huge hazard of people going the wrong direction, potentially to get on the interstate. So we want to make sure that we remove that operational deficiency. So we're also gonna, there's a free flow right turn lane there that we're gonna remove and pull all of those into a signal. As we started looking at the crash data at exit 5, almost half the crashes were from that merge movement, people coming off the ramps and trying to merge onto US 17. At exit 8, and I do have images that will show these improvements. At exit 8, we'll be replacing the single bridge that's currently there with a pair of bridges on each side of the existing bridge and converting that to a 6-lane diverging diamond section. And that'll all be over I-95. We'll also relocate Medical Center Drive because it was currently impacting the operation of the interstate. So this kind of shows you where the bridges are at. So you have the Savannah River, then the Savannah Overflow, the St. Allen Swamp, SCL Railroad, the potential future Exit 3 project. The goal of the developer and the city and county is to have that part of I-95. You know, that's the goal that everybody's working towards. It's currently not there, but we're working towards that. Then you have the Exit 5 interchange, the Main Street Bridge replacement, so that is SC46, that's an I-95 bridge is over SC46. That is a separate project that's going to be included in the construction contract for this project. There's the location of the John Smith Road Bridge and Exit 8 interchange. All right, so this is showing the exit, let's see if I can get this show. So this is showing the diverging diamond at Exit 8. So this is a new concept to South Carolina. This will be, I believe, the second one that South Carolina has put in, the first one being up in Rock Hill. So the big benefit of going to a diverging diamond is a heavy left turn movement. So that's a conflict movement across traffic. So the diverging diamond, if you're heading, let's see if I can get this, it's gonna be hard to show. So if you're heading west on US 278 to go south towards Savannah, you would cross over at this light onto the opposite side of the roadway, and then your exit ramp is a left turn instead of it's a free flow left instead of having to cross over traffic and stop. So that's a very heavy movement there. So you cross over and it reduces the conflict at those points. Same thing. If you're coming up here, you've got a free flow here. This is all a 6-lane section. This is where Medical Center Drive is being relocated to. This was the previous location of it. And then we have a hospital. The hospital is sitting here, the Coastal Carolina Hospital. So it comes up through a roundabout, which we coordinated that with the hospital to make sure they had a free flow movement for any emergency vehicles getting there. And then it ties back up into the current Medical Center Drive up here. And then we've created, basically we're working through and closing all of the conflict movements and driveway accesses through this area. That's to help reduce rear end collisions and also improve the operations of the corridor to keep traffic from backing up onto the interstate here and here. So the only driveway that will be, only business that will have direct access off of 278 will be a shared use driveway on this southwest quadrant. So all these other businesses will be, so these all of this will be serviced through this road here, and then everything on this south side here will be serviced off this frontage road. This ties into a potential future development back here that's a very large development as well.
Excuse me, could you explain that concept of that divergent diamond again? The way you made a left turn there just sounded
Yeah, so if you're coming west on 278, so you come here, you come through, you cross, so this is a crossover. So there's a signalized crossover here. So you'd cross over on the opposite side of the road, and you continue traveling across the bridge, and then your left turn is just a free flow. Like you would make a right turn exit, it's now a left turn exit, very similar to a right onto the interstate. And if you were going to continue on to 17, you come back up here and cross back over at this light. So same thing if you're coming through, you cross over and cross over back over. So these are becoming very popular because you can manage a lot of traffic, especially a lot of turning traffic with these type of interchanges. But as we looked at it, almost every interchange type we looked at required us to relocate Medical Center Drive. So this is the John Smith Road bridge replacement. So this will be replaced on the exact alignment that it's on. It'll just be raised 4 or 5 feet in the air for clearance for the interstate. We will have to close John Smith Road for approximately 9 months to construct this bridge. But one of the things that we've talked about and made sure that we put in the contract is the improvements at 5 and 8 that impact traffic cannot occur at the same time as John Smith's closed. So they can't get into traffic at 8 and impacting doing those type of work. They can build the backage roads, they can build the roundabout, anything that's not impacting exit 8 operations, they can do that at the same time as they can construct this bridge, but they can't get into the roadway. They can't get into the roadway at exit 8 until this bridge is replaced. So kind of the sequencing would be exit 5 interchange would be first, then John Smith, and then exit 8 interchange. We do plan to implement a construction timeline on exit 8 improvements because it's roughly 30 months for total construction at exit 8. The overall contract is going to be 54, somewhere in there. So we don't want the contractor to push the exit 8 improvements to the very end of the construction contract. We want it done as early as possible within the contract. So this is the SC46 bridge, which is located right here is this bridge replacement. We do have about 2,000 feet of sound walls on each side to protect the community in Hardyville here. So that is to, as we did our noise study for the project, this was a requirement for our environmental processing. So we do have noise walls at that location. All right, so this is the exit 5. So you can see here, we're going to signalize each of these ramps. This right turn movement here is being eliminated, same with that movement there. Pulling all the vehicles into the signal for both on and off ramps. These ramps will be widened out as they come through here, and acceleration decel lanes will be added on the interstate and longer for that interchange. This is the frontage road that currently ties through to each of the ramps. It will be removed, and the frontage road will go behind the QT station over to a roundabout that will connect back up to 17, and it will connect this way to a future development as well. So this is the potential exit 3 interchange. Very similar concept to exit 8. This will be a diverging diamond as well. This one is developed locally by the developer, City of Hardyville, and Jasper County are funding this project along with the State Infrastructure Bank. DOT is currently working with them on developing the plans for this, and the developer and the county are responsible for securing the environmental approval for the project to get it included as part of the project. So now we'll go through project updates, kind of where we're at on I-95. So you can see from June of last year to April of this year, we've accomplished a lot. Typically, when you look at an interstate project, it takes approximately 4 to 4.5 years to complete from start to finish. When we give a consultant notice to proceed to when they turn in construction plans, or when we go to lettings, about 48 months. This one we're doing in 30 months. So we've knocked almost 2 years off the development cycle to be able to meet the schedule that was given to us of 2024, late 2024, early 2025 construction. So we're currently acquiring right-of-way. We've got, I think, 10 tracts of 40 left to acquire within the next month. We are on track to be able to certify that in June or July. Final plans have been under review since February, and then with the actual signed and sealed plans will be turned in this month, later this month. And then we'll finalize the special revisions with a construction obligation later this year and a construction or bidding in late this year, early next year. We're kind of looking at the bids to see if we may be able to, if we push to February, get better bids than we would in December based on contractor availability and the size of this project. We want to make sure we give them plenty of time to develop their bids for it. So this is our project development process. So we started in early 2022 with the environmental document. Went through and met with property owners. We looked at different options. Specifically, most of the options were focused on the Exit 8 interchange as well as the John Smith Bridge. So as we go through the environmental process, we do alternative analysis. So we're looking at different traffic configurations, different interchange configurations to see which one is the least impactful to the human and natural environment. So the wetlands, the human, what's the traffic impacts associated with it? Which one gives us the best traffic performance? So we're trying to balance that out, and that's where the DDI came from. And then in the fall of 2022, we had a community meeting at the Island Rec Center in Hardyville. And then we finalized that in the fall of 2022. And then the document was approved in the spring of 23. And we have, since this summer, we've been acquiring, or last fall we started right away and finalizing plans. So these are some of the regional projects that could be of interest that are being developed either by Jasper County, Beaufort County, or the Low Country Area Transportation Study, which is a body that manages transportation projects. So all the local funding that DOT gives, we provide that to LATS so that they can plan in the area. So that's Hardyville, Bluffton, Beaufort, and Hilton Head are the main municipalities of that, as well as Jasper and Beaufort County. So the first one is SC 170 near-term improvements. So those are anticipated to complete this fall. So that's some intersection improvements between 278 and 462. They're hopeful to improve the traffic flow. 170 does need a lot of improvements. This is near-term, and they'll have some longer-term improvements as well. And then they're also looking at a couple of 278 access management studies. The first one is I95 to Argent Boulevard, and then Argent Boulevard to SC 170. The next one is the Triangle Project. So this is 278 to 170 and Argent Boulevard. So those roads connect and make a triangle. That's why they've called it the Triangle Project. So that's the long-term improvements for 170 and 278 in that area. So that's the widening intersection improvements. So I believe both of those projects are on the sales tax for this fall. That project is on both Beaufort County and Jasper County sales tax for this fall. So the plan is to start the preliminary engineering, but there's currently not construction funds identified for that project. Then there's some overall 278 access management studies. So I-95 to Sea Pine Circle. So they're looking at the traffic signals, ITS. What ways can they help manage those improvements or that corridor without widening the roadway, or do we have to widen in certain aspects to improve the operations? So that is led by the Low Country Area Transportation Study, or LATS, and that will start this fall as well. And then you have US 278 from I-95 to Argent Boulevard. Again, that's led by LATS with the preliminary engineering starting this fall for that one. And then, of course, my favorite project is the US 278 Corridor Improvement Project. So that's widening of US 278 between Moss Creek and Spanish Wells. So that's the replacement of the existing 4 bridges to Hilton Head that we're hopeful to be able to step forward and continue moving forward later this month. So that would be a new 6-lane facility closing that gap down. That's currently that 4-lane where you go from 6 to 4 to 6, would be making it all 6 lanes through there.
When are they looking at that to be done?
That project will be probably fall of 2026, early 2027 before construction would start on it. About 3 years to complete that one. So this is a great resource that SCDOT has developed. It's the Program Project Viewer, so it's a GIS-based map. So any project, whether it's a resurfacing, an intersection improvement, striping projects, signal projects, they're all widening projects, they're all placed on the Program Project Viewer as well as local projects. So if we're involved in any way, that's on there. So if there's a question of like what's happening in this area, you can either call the DOT or you can go to the Program Project Viewer to understand it. It'll give you the the specific person to contact for that project, whether it's in construction or in development. You'll have the person to talk to. One thing I will put on kind of 95 schedule is, early next year, about 4.5 years to complete that. So early 2030-ish would be the first phase would be completed. So they're all being coordinated as they go through there, but that's it's a long process to complete that project. A lot of that's driven by the bridge replacements. The Savannah River Bridge with GDOT is roughly a $200 million bridge replacement. So that's a significant project, time consuming to construct that bridge. And this is how you can contact us for the I-95 project. We do have a project website that is updated. We're also working on developing an I-95 overall project website that has all the projects in the entire corridor. It's currently under review at this time.